driving is, I would drive 3 hours if necessary to have the privilege to be here. Baruch Hashem, what Nattan and every single one of you here are doing in the summer months, now that it's officially after Tisha B'Av, this is officially in every yeshiva, the vacation time. This is it. This is Bein Hazmanim. This is the time that we don't learn Chas v'Shalom. And you guys, Baruch Hashem, are going strong and coming, from I understand, every day, a whole week, is to be greatly applauded. When Rav Nattan calls me to speak, he likes to give me a very hard challenge. He likes to not give me a topic. And this way, that gives me a lot more troubles to figure out what do we tell B'nai Torah who are here the day after Tisha B'Av, coming to learn. Or is it 2 Sidarim a day? 3 Sidarim a day? 2 Sidarim a day. Why? We should make it 3 Sidarim a day. Let's start off with this. We just finished a Tisha B'Av. We all know that we're still in Galut. We're all waiting for the Geulah. Meshech Chochmah tells us in Parshas Bo that when Klal Yisrael was Zochet to Geulah, when they were Zochet to be redeemed from Mitzrayim, is because they had certain chumrot, they had certain strictnesses that they held to, and that led them to the Geulah. What were those strictnesses? Shalosh shinu et shemam. Right? We all know that the Jews in Mitzrayim, although how assimilated they were, they didn't change their names. Shalosh shinu et lishonam. They didn't change their language. They spoke the Hebrew language. V'shalosh shinu malbosham. And they didn't change their clothes. They all walked around with a shtreimel and a beketcha. Okay? So they didn't change their clothes. They didn't change their language. They didn't change their names. And these are all chumrot. If you think about it, if you go to a brit and you call the baby Ching Wang Wing, legally, halachically, that's his name. That's his name. That's his halachic name. Right? So keeping to Jewish names, in a sense, is a chumrah. Same thing with clothing. I mean, clothing is clothing. You put on clothing, as long as it's not the opposite gender's clothing, it's not really no issur to wear it. You have to deal with that one. But most clothing today, you go to the store, I buy a shirt, I'm buying a regular shirt that most people in the world are wearing. And language, we know the halacha, a person can daven in any language. Right? The Farish halacha, you can daven in any language. So these 3 things that they stuck to were really things, the Meshech Chochmah says they were chumrot, they were strictnesses. And that led them to the Geulah. So the Meshech Chochmah says, you know what's going to bring us to the next Geulah? It's going to be chumrot. Person who's strict in certain matters, that's what's going to lead us to the Geulah. But then, Rav Zev Smith in Yeshir says, the person has to look on the opposite side of strictnesses as well. He says, we all know that the first 2, our only 2, the 2 temples that we had, were both destroyed because of chumrot, because of strictnesses. How we have. It says in the Navi, in Yirmiyahu, we know that after the major destruction of the first temple, there was still a governor in Eretz Yisrael. His name was Gedaliah, right? The pasuk says that the remnants of Israel who stayed there were killed by Gedaliah. Asher hika b'yad Gedaliyahu. Those remnant Jews that were survived in Eretz Yisrael after the Babylonians came were killed by Gedaliah. Gedaliah didn't do anything. But what Gedaliah did, he held to a chumrah. He held to a strictness. What was the strictness? They came and they told him, there's a Jew who's trying to kill you. What did Gedaliah say? I don't hear it. Not Mekabel. Lashon hara, I'm not believing it. He closed his ears and didn't want anything to do with it. And the guy came and killed him. And once Gedaliah was killed, there was no more government in Israel. And as such, the people were left to be for pickings, and everyone came and destroyed them. So the pasuk says, who killed the people? Gedalia. Shehika b'yad Gedalia. The Gemara in Gittin tells us the whole story of Kamsa bar Kamsa. No, he goes and he's Malshin, he's moister to the government, and they send an animal, right? And he dafka puts a blemish, whether the lip, whether the eye, he puts a blemish in it, he brings it up, and now the question is, do we take this carbon that has a mum, the now that he put on his back, can you put it, shouldn't you put it? Chum said, Al Shalom, peace, we don't want to have any problems, send it up. Comes the Rabbi Zachariah ben Abakulus, and he says, we can't. We have to have a chumrah. Strict. We have to go by strictness. The Gemara in Gittin says that the Beit Mikdash was destroyed because of Rabbi Zachariah's chumrah of not letting that carbon go on the Mizbeach. So now, we have Meshech Chachman that comes and tells us that the Geula is going to come through chumras, through strictnesses. And we have the two Beit Mikdashot destroyed because of strictnesses, because of chumrah. So now my question to you is, we have to figure out where and when and how. The Ramchal, the Mesilat Yesharim, has a concept, and this concept is such an important concept that Rosh Hashiva Rav Pam, Chatzadik Bracha, this would be his shmooze over and over again, his Talmidim, Rabbi Yisrael Reisman, Shlitim, Rosh Hashiva, M'Tarvadat. This is the shmooze over and over again that we hear. The concept is called Mishkal HaHasidut, and knowing how to balance when someone does something. When you're doing Hasidut, you're doing piety, you're doing extra special things, you have to know how to make a balance of it. Mesilat Yesharim, the Ramchal calls it Inyan Ikari Me'od Me'od. It's one of the most important things as a Jew, is to know how to do Mishkal HaHasidut, how to balance what you're about to do. The Mesilat Yesharim himself brings down Gedalia and Rabbi Zachariah as examples of people who messed up Mishkal HaChasidut. They decided to become strict when they shouldn't have. Someone calls you on the phone and says, I'm inquiring about a shidduch. I heard this person might have some mental problems or medical problems. Do you know anything about it? Now you know, right? You know. So what do? Either you're a very nice guy and you say, nah, shit, nothing to worry about. Or you go ahead and give it all on the line. But both ways might have been wrong. At that point, what a person is supposed to do is say, right now I can't talk. You close the phone, you call the Rav, you say, this is what they're calling me about. This is what I know. How do I present this? Because the other side needs to know about a mental or medical problem. They're going to get married. They're going to be with this person. They're going to have children with this person. But at the same point, if you don't know how to say it, you're going to destroy the shidduch before you even started. Not to say that it couldn't work out. A person has to have mishkal chasidut. He has to know how to look. I remember the story as if it happened yesterday. We were sitting in a shul, and all of a sudden a guy walks inside the shul. Old Italian man. And he says, I'm very sorry to disturb, but I think someone's blocking my driveway. Can someone please move their car? And there's a guy in the shul wearing his talit and tefillin, walks over to this guy and says to him, he's screaming, what are you coming in here and bothering us from praying to God? We're talking to God and you're talking about your driveway. It's his car. Get out of here. He starts screaming at him. This guy came in, doesn't have to call, doesn't have to come in. He can call 311, that's the way it works in New York City. Call 311, tell them someone's blocking your driveway, they ticket it, and the minute they ticket it, you call a tow truck company, and they take it and they go away, and that's it. You don't have to say nothing more. The guy doesn't have to pay over $400, $500 in fees just to get his car back. So this guy came in, nicely said it, and this guy says, I'm davening, a chutzpah you have to tell me to move my car. Mishkal HaChasidut. He thought he was doing a big mitzvah. What big mitzvah? The Yalkut Shimoni in Kollel says this, and this concept, we can take anything out of today's shmooze, listen to this. En ben gehenom le Gan Eden ele kehut hasa'ara. The difference between getting into Gan Eden and Gehenna is like a small little piece of hair. That one little mistake that you make, that gets you to Gehenna. Gan Eden it's just one minimal little line that makes the difference between Gehenna and Gehenna. This is what Ramchal is telling us is Mishkalach Hasidut, because if you don't make calculations in what you're doing, you don't analyze what we're doing, it's going to cause many problems. Famous Mishnah, Masechta Berachot. Rav Tarfon says, I was traveling on the road and I wanted to be Yotzei Kriyat Shema like Beit Shammai. Beit Shammai held B'Shamcha of Kumecha. You lay down, you get up. That's how you have to say Shema. If you were saying in the nighttime, you have to lay down. If you're saying it in the morning, you have to stand up. And there's the nighttime. He wanted to be Yotzei Kriyat Shema, so he wanted to lay down. He got off his donkey he was driving on, and he lay down. And as he lay down, bandits came. And he said, oh, I would have gotten in big trouble. And what did the Chachamim tell him? You would have deserved to be killed. You deserve to be killed. That's what the Chachamim told him. Chachamim told him. He did a Chumrah. Like Beit Hillel, he's going to be Yotzei? Of course. Beit Hillel said you can say it standing, sleeping, any way you want. You can be Yotzei Kriyat Shema. Beit Shammai said you have to lay down at the night one. So he wanted to be Machmir. He wanted to be Yotzei. According to all she taught. And the Chachamim told me you deserve to be killed. Rav Pam says, why is this? Because he didn't do Mishkalach Hasidut. Why? At that point in history, the Jewish world was about to be split. There was such major arguments in Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. There was arguments in halacha which way to go. Till finally everyone agreed that halacha is like Beit Hillel. Comes Rav Tarfon, huge tzaddik, huge gadol, and he's doing it like Beit Shammai now. So people are going to see, we just agreed it's like Beit Hillel, and he's going like Beit Shammai. He's ruining everything everyone agreed to right now. And because of that, the Chachamim said he deserved to be killed. Because he didn't employ thought prior to acting. We see that if we don't think before we do a mitzvah, that mitzvah that we do gets us into Gehenna and can cause a churban. Rav Pam would say that before a Jew does anything, any mitzvah, he has to take out those scales, the Mishkalach Hasidut. Everything you're doing, you have to weigh it. Rav Pam in Yeshiva would say, a bacher is home in Bein Hazmanim, and his mother or father asks him for help. And at that point he says, I have to go to Shir, I have to go to Bismedish, now I have to learn. All of a sudden, 5 minutes ago he wasn't, everything was okay at home, but now he needs help, and now he needs to learn. You're right, learning is huge. But Mishkalach Hasidut, where is the scale? Rav Chaim Kanevsky in Orchos Rabbeinu writes how the Chazon Ish, if there ever was a Masmid, if there ever was a Gadol, everyone agrees it's the Chazon Ish. And the Chazon Ish would go visit his aged mother every single day and spend a half hour on each visit, that's not including travel time. So you can imagine, and this is a person that learned all day and all night, but he took out time to visit his mother. Mishkalach Hasidut. Yes, you have to learn. Yes, you have to do. But you have to make a Mishkalach Hasidut. You have to know how to look at life. The Jews are in Mitzrayim. Paro is hurting them, destroying them, killing them, making them work day to night, killing their babies to fill the bricks. Hashem comes to Moshe Rabbeinu, appears to him in a burning bush, and tells Moses, you got to go and save the Jews. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, I can't. Why not? Why not? Because Aharon is there, my brother Aaron is there. And it's not right for me to take his place. And Hashem says to him, you're right, Aharon's there, but Aharon's not going to be upset. That means, the middle of this means what? That Hashem was masking to Moshe Rabbeinu's cheshbon, that to not go would be the correct action if Aharon would be upset. The only reason Moshe Rabbeinu went because Hashem told Aharon would not be upset. That means the whole Geula, the whole redemption of saving the Jewish people from Egypt would not have happened if Aharon would have been upset and Moshe would have upset him. That means Moshe was right to deny Hashem and say, I don't want to go, it's going to upset someone. We always think that the ends justify the means. The Midrash tells us now. Moshe Rabbeinu was correct in arguing that I shouldn't go in order not to embarrass Aaron. The sensitivity of one individual was already enough to not go and redeem a whole nation. Avraham Avinu has HaKadosh Baruch Hu in front of him. He's talking. And he sees 3 Arabs. 3 people who are Odei Avodah Zarah. At least to his eyes. And he tells God, wait, I'm going to go serve them. He's talking to Hashem. There's nothing, when we learn Torah, right? It's Hashem talking to us. And when we daven, we're talking to Hashem, right? So he's talking literally to Hashem. This is the highest form of anything you can have in life. And he tells God, wait, I got to take care of these guests. Chafetz Chaim, everyone knows the story. Chafetz Chaim, when he would come home on Leil Shabbat, and he would come home with guests, he didn't sing Shalom Aleichem. He didn't sing Shalom Aleichem. He made Kiddush, he started to eat, he gave everybody food to eat, and then he sang Shalom Aleichem. So people said, what are you doing? Shalom Aleichem? It's Minhag Yisrael, everyone says Shalom Aleichem. And he says, the Malachim can wait. My guests are hungry. Give them to eat first. They once came to the Chafetz Chaim and told the Chafetz Chaim, we don't have enough matzahs to bake this year. We don't have enough matzahs. We baked, we don't have enough. And we made a list of all the Chachamim and all the Gedolim and all the Askanim and all the great people in the community, and we're going to give each one 3 matzahs so they can have one Seder with 3 matzahs. Chafetz Chaim took the list, looks at it, and says, no one on this list should get the matzot. What do you mean? He says, all the Friar Yidden, all the non-frum Yidden in this community, you're giving them the matzot. They don't even have a Seder. And Chafetz Chaim is reasoning, using Mishkal Chasidut. He says all the frum Yidden, they're not going to have matzot, they're not going to eat hametz. But the Friar Yidden, the non-religious Jews, if you don't give them matzot, they're definitely going to eat hametz. And that's an Issa D'Oraita. Give them the matzot. It's using Mishkal Chasidut. It's a different way of looking at life. What would we think? Whether we have a couple of matzahs, we give it to the biggest Admoirim, the Gedolim, the Rabbanim. And Chafetz Chaim had a different way of looking at life. Rav Smith, he says that he once asked Rav Pam if he sees that someone davening in front of him is finishing up Shemona Esrei and wants to take 3 steps back. And he's still in his long Shemona Esrei and with a lot of kavanah. But he sees the guy in front of him is looking at an itch and he wants to already back up. Should he finish his Shemona Esrei quicker or should he just take his time? And Rav Pam told him, with Hashem, you can work it out. With another Jew, I'm not sure. So I think you should finish up faster. This is a whole different... It's not what we think that when we're doing something right, that's it. We're right and everyone else doesn't count. Comes the Mesilas Yesharim, comes Rav Pam, comes and tells us that what? We really have to analyze the situation. We really have to look at it from a different angle. Someone came to Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, another Rosh Hashiva, and he told Rav Yaakov, my work didn't. And we're talking. He said, my work didn't want to give me off for Purim. They said they can't give me work. I have to work. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call out sick. Then you have certain works. You have hours that you can call out sick, and that's it. They can't touch you. And Rav Yaakov told him, you should know that the mitzvah of eating a seudah on Purim is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. And saying sheker is an Isser D'Oraita. Go to work on Purim. Take a sandwich, that will be your Suda. Rav Pam, Yisrael Reisman, they all say that Mishkal Chasidut really requires a Jew to have a mastery in halacha. Because you can't make this weighing of the scales of what's right and what's wrong if you don't know halacha. What is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan? What is a isur d'Rabbanan? What is a mitzvah d'Oraita? What's isur d'Oraita? How do you apply it? If you don't know halacha, you cannot make these scales. Because then you'll think whatever you're doing is right, because I'm doing a Tvar Kedusha, I think, right? And that's it. Everyone else pushed to the side. a person really needs to have a mastery of halakha. It takes time and hard work. But when a person learns halakha from the Mikor, from the Pasuk, from the Gemara, going to the Rishonim, to the Achrayim, Shulchan Aruch, from Exile, and he comes and he looks up for us Faradim, you should definitely, my advice always is to go with this game, the Yalkut Yosef, Chacham Ovadia's halachot, the way he's basic. That's all Sfaradim should really follow that. That's my belief. A person should really learn up until there, until he gets to that part, until he knows what to do. Baruch Hashem, I've been involved with shuls and speaking and halachot and stuff like that, and I'll tell you, the people in the shul don't really know halachot. They don't. I saw last year, I saw then, I remember this guy did like that, this guy, nobody knows that. Where's the Makar? Where is it? Where's the Shulchan Aruch? Where is it? Where is it? Where did you get this from? I remember somewhere, nobody knows. He was making up things. A person really has to learn the halakha from the Makar and build it up. And he gets a real strong knowledge and he's able to say. Now people are going to think you're wacky if you know halakha. Why? Because you're going to tell them to do X when they think they have to do Y. And they can't be. But yes, that's halakha. That's Mishkala Hasidut. That's the time. That's everyone that we spoke about. They're able to look at it differently because they have a mastery in halacha. Yaakov Kamenetsky was giving a shir in Monsey. He finished the shir. And you know the halacha is before every tefillah, you have to wash your hands. It's not a Indian toiv or a good thing to do. It's actually halacha. You have to wash your hands before every single tefillah. So much so that the Ayin held that you have to say a bracha before every tefillah when you wash your hands. We don't pass him that way, but everyone holds you have to wash your hands. And everyone came after the shir to go wash their hands at the sink, and they're all using a cup. Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky walks to the front of the line, takes the cup, removes it, and says, the halacha is you have to wash your hands. It's a minute to wash with the cup. Not everyone should be late for Aravit because you have to wash with the cup. Only someone who has a mastery in halakha, who understands the priorities, is able to make that Mishkala Chasidut. On a Shabbat, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach was walking outside, and he sees a father and a son approaching him. And the father was carrying a heavy chair, and the son was walking empty-handed. So he says, what's this? And the father says, what can I say? My son is very machmer, he doesn't hold it as erev. Shlomo Zalman Auerbach was beside himself. He came to shul at Shabbat and he gave him shmooze for who knows how long. He's saying he doesn't understand how someone could be over the mitzvah d'oraita of kibbud avayim for a chumrah that this erev isn't good for him. There's no mishkala chasidut there. Some people think they have to fight for a minhag. I have a certain minhag. I have to keep to it, no matter where everyone else sells. Shalom, who cares? Beast, what? Minhag, I have to keep to it. They came to Yaakov Kamenetsky, they asked him, what's your minhag of how to walk down a chuppah? There's two minhagim. Either the two mothers walk with the kala and the two fathers walk with the hatan, or you have the parents walking with the domot and the parents walking with the bride. Whichever way it is, people have different minhagim. So they ask Yaakov, what's your minhag? What do you answer? Whatever the other side wants. They said, what type of minhag is this? He says, that's the minhag. They said, what did you do? He says, exactly what I did. For 3 weddings, the parents walked down, and for 3 weddings, I walked down with the father. This is a minhag. Why are you fighting about a minhag? How many minhag is in Yisrael? It's a good minhag. There's no need to fight about it. If a person has a mastery in halacha, he'll be able to understand what's a minhag, what's a mitzvah, what's a d'oraita, what you have, what you can compromise, what you can't compromise in. You have incident after incident, story after story. It can go on much longer. But time is of the essence. And I want to wrap up with an idea from the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, this is Moed Katan Daf Hey. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Kol Hashem Rochotav. Anyone who calculates his path, Zocheh Beroeh B'Shuato Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's going to see the Yeshuot, the salvations from Hashem. Shneimar, it says in Pasuk in Tehillim, V'sam derech, at tikrei v'sam ela v'sham derech, erenu be'yesha Elohim. A person who calculates his path, who makes mishkala hasidut, who contemplates before acting what is the proper course of action, he will see Yeshuot Hashem. The Gemara gives an example of Rabbi Yanai. He had a Talmud that every day would ask him 1,000 questions when they were learning. He knocked the Rebbe out, this way, that way. Bumble questions, good stuff. But when it came to the holiday, Shabbat before the holiday, when the whole community got together for the shiur, this boy kept quiet. Why? He realized, not in yeshiva now. Now there's a shiur, right? The Gemara also talks about that you're not supposed to ask questions to the guy who's giving a hesped. There were people who wanted to give the guy's giving a hesped about a dead person. The guy, oh, but that doesn't say that. The other Midrash argued. There's time when you could, and the time when you can't. You have to use mishkala hasidut. Is now the time to ask questions, and now the time to ask questions. I'll tell you what the Chafetz Chaim adds to this Gemara. Chafetz Chaim says, you know what this means? That you'll see the Yeshuot Hashem. The Chafetz Chaim adds, and he says as follows, that when a person is niftar, his neshama ends up in front of b'makom sheyesh lamed bet elef revivot netivot, 32,000 paths. So when you're niftar, the neshama is now in front of 32,000 paths. The chulam nikraim mikshem elvis, and all of them are considered dead, except for one. That the name of it is Orech Chaim. That's the path of life. That's where the neshama has to go. And they're all dark. And they all look exactly the same. And no one knows where to go. But he says, Mida keneged Mida, that a person who calculates his path on this world, Hashem will send him a mouth to show him which path to go to get to Olam Haba. That means that us doing Mishkala Hasidut in this world is really very beneficial for us, not just for the people around us. Okay? It's always easier to sell something that's going to be good for you. The Chafetz Chaim says that this is the only way to get to where you're supposed to get in Olam Haba. If you, in this world, pay attention to the derech that you're taking, then you have the chance to find the right path to get to Olam Haba. Otherwise, you're stuck in the old 31,999 other paths that are not leading you to the next world. So, Rabbi, to sum up, Chumas can lead to a churban, can lead to a destruction, but the Umrot that are applied properly, using the correct derech HaTorah, like using halacha as appropriately, that leads to the Geulah, not just your own Geulah, but the whole Geulah of Klal Yisrael. That's what we want, right? We want to see the Shekhinah coming back to the Beit HaMikdash. We want to be able to be Oved Hashem without any other tirchot, without any troubles from the life that we have. Everyone has troubles in life. That's what it is. That's what life is. The only way we're going to have this is if we set our paths correctly. That before we do, a Jew thinks and contemplates before he acts. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us that zechut, that ability to take this lesson and really apply it to life. That requires you to learn halakha well, okay? And as well to think, stop and think before acting. It's easier said than done. But once a person has a goal, and the Reisman always would say, start with a small goal. Okay? Do one thing. Think one time, and then you'll think the rest. If you start with one, you'll start with all. That's why it's coming to Rosh Hashanah now, 7 weeks before Rosh Hashanah. Why is it called Rosh Hashanah? Rosh Hashanah. Rosh head, right? Rosh is a head. It's not Shana Chadash, a new year. We say Rosh Hashanah. Why Rosh Hashanah? We say it many, many times in this Beit Midrash here at Nattan. It's because one time a year, at least use your head on Rosh Hashanah. It's the start of the year. Use it right, at least in the beginning. And this way, hopefully, you'll be able to use it the rest of the year. This is our bracha, that we should be able to use our heads correctly, analyze the situations, contemplate, and do the right thing. And Be'ez Hashem, we should be zocheh to the gula shalema b'meinu. Amen. Amen.